Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Running Your Stories. We have another fantastic episode here. This time we're going to be chatting with Clark Hind, who has just completed the Western States Ultra. For anybody who doesn't know, the Western States is a 100-mile ultra race in California, one of the most famous 100-mile races in the world, and a very tough race because of the heat that's involved while you're running. And I'd like to take this opportunity to really say thank you to all of the people that we've had on so far on Running Your Stories. The podcast is going really well. We're getting some excellent feedback, and please do give more feedback after you've listened to this and to other episodes. But thank you very much to everybody who's been on, because this podcast is going really well. We're really getting the kind of material that we like. We are running your stories, running the stories of ordinary runners with all of your extraordinary stories, and we're really enjoying making it. So I hope you're enjoying listening. Give us some feedback, like it, share it, tell your friends about it, and without further ado, let's go over and start speaking with Clark. Thank you.
Welcome, Clark.
Hello.
Hi. And
how are you?
Good. So we were just discussing you said you'd give us a little bit of background about your running, and then we'll get into your latest big adventure at Western States.
Yeah, sure. Well, I only started running, I think it was about March or April in 2014. I think with a lot of people, a friend of mine just mentioned the parkrun in the park, and he was like, come and give this a go. I was sort of like, I was doing a bit of, I wasn't running, I was doing a bit of sort of like five-a-side football, like just sort of bits and bobs like that. And I wasn't really fit at all, but I thought, why not? I enjoy running, so I'll go and give it a go.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of this thing of like, you do a 5k, and then it's like, oh yeah, that's good fun. And then you go next week, and then you're a bit quicker, and you think, oh, hang on, what if I actually sort of like put a bit of effort in, and
you start doing your runs midweek between the 5 days,
yeah. So it's like, well, I think first of all, before I did sort of the parkrun, I'd just go off, and it's like if I had like a stressful day at work or something, I'd just go off and I'd just come home and I'd just be like, right, I'll just go for a run. I had no idea what I'm doing, but I'll just go for a run. I used to just go up, do a lap of the park and come home. I think it was about 4 miles or something, but I remember doing it with like trackies on and like, just some like old crappy trainers, and like I remember like having a backpack with like Lucozade in it and stuff like that, just absolutely clueless. But I used to do that, and it just sort of, when you come back after that, it's like all that stress from work and everything's just sort of gone. So I enjoyed it, and then started doing the parkrun, and then you do a couple of 10Ks, and then I think I did Great North Run, and then you're like, well, you can probably do a marathon, and like it's like, well, we've done a few marathons, and then what was the first ultra I did? I did the Calder Del Way 50 miler, 2016, I think that was. And that was good. Enjoyed that, and then did West Highland Way last year, and then that sort of got me onto sort of this year's adventures over in California. So
yeah. The West Highland Way is quite a step up from the Calderdale Way.
I found that out. I found that out quickly. I remember someone said, or I read it somewhere ages ago, it's like, from running 50 miles to 100 miles, it's not like doing a half marathon to a marathon. It's like going from a 10k to a marathon. It's just like the step up in effort, and just like the amount of time you're on your feet, and like all the nutrition, and like there's so much stuff stuff you have to worry about when because of 50 miles, I think it took me about 8.5 hours. So you're not on your feet for too long, really. Like, it's a hard day out, so it's 50 miles, but going up to nearly running for a whole day, usually across like mountains and hills and rugged terrain and all this sort of stuff, it's you definitely learn a lot anyway. So yeah, West Highland Way was yeah, I can't even remember where I entered that, or where I'd heard about it. I think I just fancied a longer race, and I just heard good things about it, so I just put my name in the hat, and yeah, they selected me, and it was a really good race, actually. Yeah, I'd recommend that if there's anyone who's sort of looking for a big race to do.
Yeah,
it's really good community around the race. Like, you get your have you seen the little? You get like a goblet,
right?
Like a glass goblet, which is inscribed on it saying West Highland Way finisher, whatnot. But they'd have a big presentation at the end, and sort of everyone comes up, everyone gets applause, like even from the first person to the last person.
Right, excellent.
It's a really nice community around the race. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that. Well, you say enjoy it, but like it took, I think it was last sort of like 30 miles. The weather took a complete turn from being like nice summer in Scotland to being like chucking it down, and it was like blowing a gale, and like you're going along these paths, and the paths are turned into streams, and couldn't feel my feet for hours, and yeah, turned into a bit of a different challenge. And I wasn't prepared for it. I had a really thin, like, windproof top, and I was wearing like sort of my short racing shorts, and I was just getting absolutely battered. But yeah, after sort of warming up in the car for a bit, I was all right and made it to the end. So I didn't think I'd ever do something like that again, but you know, as with most things, you forget about how horrible it was, and you sign up for the next race, can't you?
Yeah, I've probably made that mistake. I've forgotten about the Spine race, and I've got my official place for next year.
Well, yeah, you sort of. I think it's just how your brain works, isn't it? It just like blots out all the pain, and you just think about the good high points, which is usually like at the start, first 10, 20 miles, you feel great, and then the rest of it, middle bit's a bit of a blur, and then it's like finishing. It's like, right,
yeah.
yes.
And then all the people you've met and all the other good things about it. I think part of it as well is those low points and the bad things. You think, I can do that better next time.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it. You're kind of challenging yourself.
I remember crossing that finish line, and I was like, never. I was like, I am so happy that I don't have to run any further now. I was like, never again. But then you think, well, if I'd done this a bit differently and that a bit differently, it's like, and in an ultra as well, if you make a couple of better decisions, that could be 2 hours off your finishing time.
Yes.
You know, so you do think, yeah, maybe I'll sign up again, have another crack at that. But yeah, not in the near future anyway. Just takes a lot of time and effort with the training as well. It's like you just spend so much time out and about, and it's kind of nice to not have to worry about that, and you can run if you want to, or you can just sit on the couch and have a beer and watch some telly if you want to. You don't have to feel guilty about it. So yeah, it takes a lot of time off.
Yep.
So yeah, and then West Highland Way was a qualifier for Western States,
right?
Which sort of, it wasn't my plan to sort of enter the Western States, but I kind of thought, well, I'm in no rush to go and run West Highland Way again, or I don't know if I'm ever going to do any of these big races again. So while I had that sort of qualifier there, I thought, well, why not bang my name in that in the hat for the lottery for Western States?
So that kind of qualifier, do you have to enter the race that year? Is that the way the qualifier works? That you have to have done the qualifying race?
Yeah, I think so.
Within like the preceding season, kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it works like that. Like, I don't think you can sort of save them up.
Yes.
So like, I'm not sure if it works like if I guess if say if you didn't get into the race, then you'd have to go and run another 100
Yeah.
to get another qualifier to get into it again. So it's like like a long process. It's not like London Marathon where you can just stick your name in, doesn't matter. You have to qualify and prove, because there's a big list of races on the website, and I think there's about 3 in the UK. I think it's like Lakeland Hundreds on there and another one somewhere. I can't remember what. But yeah, you have to do a hard race to prove that you've sort of kind of got what it takes to at least have a go at doing Western States. But yeah, it's like I was speaking to some guys over there who sort of have been entering it year on year on year on year. Like they've entered it. Like some guys are like, oh, it's my 7th time entering into the raffle for Western States, and I finally got in. And I was sort of like, I didn't really want to say to them. I was like, well, I sort of just chuck my name in and somehow managed to get a spot. So I was chatting to a few of because we were so jet lagged. We were at the the expo thing at like 7 o'clock in the morning, and nothing started till about 10. But the guys were setting up, and we were chatting away to a few of the board members for the race. And whenever I was chatting to them, and they were like, "Oh, how many times have you entered?" I was like, "Oh, 1." They were like, "Oh, so you're a 1%er then?" It's like, yeah, I guess so. But they were all really nice, because as soon as they hear that you're not from, well, you've got a different accent, they all want to know your story and where you're from and what's going on. So everyone was really nice around the race. It was it was a good experience.
Yeah, I've heard a lot actually about the community around the race, and the fact that seems, from what I've heard, everybody in the local town seems to be supporters of the race. I've heard stories from other people that you go into any shop or restaurant or anything and you tell them you're there for the race, and they want to know your story.
You get so when you register for the race the day before, so then they're not faffing about at 2 o'clock in the morning before the race. But you get they put like a yellow wristband on you, and they're like, right, you don't take that off until you either drop out or you finish in Auburn. But once you've got that yellow wristband on, sort of everyone in the local area sort of knows that you're a runner in the race. So like we went over to Lake Tahoe and went into like a couple of shops around there, and like as soon as they sort of see they've got this wristband on, they're like, "Oh, good luck for the race," and you're running Western, oh yeah. So it was really cool. Everyone gets behind you, and like it's like where you start is it's like a skiing village, so there's not really much going on in the summer. So kind of when this race is on, that's like the big thing for this like little, like it's like it's a tiny little town. But yeah, it's like you just walk down the street and like there's just everyone there is pretty much there for the race, and you kind of spot all these sort of faces you recognise from, Instagram or whatever, all these top ultra runners, and you're kind of like, oh, there's so and so, there's so and so, they're all there for the race. So it was it was cool. Yeah. Like it's a nice place as well. So yeah.
So how long before the race did you know you had your place?
So they do, I think it was about start of December.
Okay.
Something like that, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit earlier. They do like a big, like they literally, when they talk about tickets for the race, it's literally like raffle tickets.
Right.
And they put them in a big tombola thing and just draw them out. But they do, so if it's your first time entering, you get 1 ticket in the raffle, and if it's your second time entering, you get 2 tickets in there, and the third one 3 tickets.
Yeah.
So if you've entered 5 times in a row, you've got more percentage chance of getting picked. So like some people say, if you've got 7 tickets in there, then you've probably got a good chance of getting picked. But yeah, I just saw. I think I saw someone on like Facebook or someone had done the draw, and I was like, oh yeah, I stuck my name in that. I remember that. And I just searched. And I was like, I was going to search for my name on the participant list. And it was just on there, and I was like, oh right.
Better start training now.
I was like more like, so I'm going to need to pay for some flights to California.
Yeah.
I just said to Charlotte, like, oh look, we're going to have to get to California for a few weeks next year.
I'm sure she was good.
Yeah. Well, it was just like, he's just like, you can't turn down an opportunity like that. I was just like, whatever it takes, I'm going to have to go, and I'm going to have to do it, because it's just like, it's a race, like if you're into ultra running, or you've read any of these books about these guys ultra running, you've always hear stories about Western States, and it's a big race, and sort of, I don't think I'd ever get another chance to do it, so yeah, off we went. Tickets were booked, and then off we went. Yeah. Excuse to go around California for a bit as well afterwards.
Yep.
But yeah, it was I think if we'd kind of done it again, I might have gone there a bit earlier to sort of just get used to the heat and stuff, because we kind of got there on the Wednesday night, I think, Thursday morning, and it was Thursday, Friday race, Saturday morning, so it was a bit of a quick turnaround, really.
Yeah.
Luckily, I wasn't jet lagged or anything, because otherwise I would have been running the race half asleep. So.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that. It's one of the biggest things that seems to affect me in races, is how tired you are before you start, and whether you've actually had a good rest before. Because again, like you say, with big races, I always think, okay, maybe if it's a really big one, I might need a few days off work afterwards to just get back to sanity before you're trying to work. But actually, I'm starting to think I need a couple of days off work beforehand, just so you're not rushing around like crazy,
definitely
trying to get prepared, so you can actually have some proper sleep. Well, rest.
Yeah, exactly. If you got all your kit ready, then you can get a sound night's sleep the day before, night before, because you know everything's ready. I just need to pick up my bag, get my number on, and then off we go. I'm ready to go. Have my breakfast or whatever, and then you're good to go. You want to take all that stress out of it that you can, and then just worry about the race.
So, how much kit do you need to carry for Western States?
Well,
from what I've seen on videos, it doesn't look like you're obliged to carry very much at all.
There's no sort of mandatory kit. It's kind of, I think with a lot of races in the US, it's a lot different than in the UK. I think because it's so well like sort of marshalled, and they have so many aid stations and stuff like this. You don't seem to. I guess if it's a big mountain race, there'd probably be some kit you have to take, but you see some of the guys who just carry a couple of water bottles and then they just trot along like that. Because at the start, aid station's sort of like 10 miles, 8 miles. So you're sort of okay with a bit of water and maybe a couple of gels or something. And then when it gets further in the race, the aid stations are like 5 miles apart, 4 miles apart. Right. And then like the last 10 miles, there's like 3 or 4 aid stations. So you just sort of like go along.
So it's a bit like a road marathon kind of. Yeah,
it's just up to you how much kit you want to take. I wanted to try and, well, I wore like my vest and had like a couple of flasks full of water, and I had my water bladder in the back as well, sort of like 1.5 litre, I think it is, and just in case, really, because I knew it was going to be hot. I knew I had to keep my fluids up, and I just wanted to make sure I had enough space for carrying water and stuff. And I ended up filling up with ice water to kind of keep me cool, really. Other than that, it's just food, I guess. Just making sure you've got some calories and things. I didn't bring much with me. But I think coming from races over here where there's always some like compulsory kit and things, isn't there? So I just wanted to make sure I had, if I needed anything, I had it with me, and then I didn't have to struggle to the next aid station to have to get something, really. So I just wanted to be prepared. Didn't need my waterproofs. But yeah, it was I didn't have to carry much, really, just because all the aid out there. Yeah, didn't need much.
Yeah. So, how did the race go then?
Yeah.
I have read your blog, but
well, I got to the end anyway, finished it. But it's like as much like I think I like writing about it and doing like blogs on these races because it very quickly, as we were saying before, just turns into a bit of a blur.
Yes.
And you sort of just think about the good points and think about finishing and like getting your buckle or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely some very low points in the race. But it you're sort of forced to start nice and steady because the first 4.5 miles is just straight up the side of this. Basically, go to the top of this mountain.
Yeah.
Because it's like you just start in the bottom of the ski resort and then go up the path to the top where people ski down from. So you do about 2,500 foot, I think, first few miles. So like it doesn't matter how fit you are, you're not going to be tanking it up that hill when you know you've got 95, 96 miles left. So everyone sort of sets off nice and steady, which is good. But even at the top of that climb, it was still like my quads were sore, and I was like, oh man, I've got such a long way to go. But after that, once you get up that climb, you've got some really nice sort of running sections through like sort of like forest paths and things like. Some of it's a bit rocky and kind of like twist your ankles and stuff like that. So my ankles got a bit beaten up, but you just kind of it was all runnable basically. Like there was a few climbs where I was just like, right, I'll just walk up this bit because it's too early in the race to be trying to push myself. So I was like, right, just sort of keep it nice and steady and just taking my time. And I think I got off to quite a good start. I think I was like 30 something in the when I hit the first checkpoint.
Yeah.
And then it just like when you hit the first checkpoint and then sort of like refilled all my bottles and stuff, and I was all right. I was fine. I think that's only about 10 miles, so I was just sort of like ticking along. Felt all right. Like the trainer wasn't as good as it had been, but I sort of thought, right, I'll just take my time, try and enjoy it. Because like those first few miles, you're all up in the mountains and everything, and it looks really nice. And so I just take it in and enjoy it, and not try and kill myself too much. And then sort of, it just started getting hot really quickly. It was like running through like quite a lot of the race. You're going through forests and woods and stuff, so it's quite covered on the trail.
Yes.
But like you'd pop out and then you'd like do this climb up some steep section, and you just have the sun beating on your back. And even at like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, you were just like, oh, you just knew it was going to be a hot day. I think about what was it? I think it was about was it even 30 miles, maybe 28 miles or something. Was like the first checkpoint where your crew could come up. So I met Charlotte there, and she was just like, giving me bits and bobs and sort of, just started filling up with ice and stuff because it was already getting hot. I think around that point, all the sort of like it was weird because like you're running on your own, you don't see anyone for a long time, and then when you get to an aid station, just all of a sudden, just all these runners pop out. Yes. And it was just like all of a sudden there was like 3-4 people there. But I was running along with the sort of top couple of women, and like when they came into the aid stations, they're all like they're sponsored by Solomon and all this. So like they come in, and like about 10 people run over to them and like sort of do all this stuff for him and like fill up the water bottles.
Sort of
give
pit
him
stop style. One's on this side, one's on that side. One ties that lace, one ties that lace.
It was just like, it was just crazy. Yeah, like they were just bang, 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 bang. And then I just sort of like went over to Charlotte, and she was just like, oh yeah, I'll take a Cliff Bar and like I'll have this. Like, okay, bye, right, see ya. But yeah, those couple of girls that were running at the front were just so strong. Like I just let them past. I was like, just just go, because you're on this single track trail, so it's like I'll let you go, yeah, but like just so strong. Like I was just taking my time, ticking along, and they were just like boom, 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 just up these climbs, just gone. It was crazy. Like it was good to run with them for a bit, but yeah, I couldn't believe how well they were doing. And then sort of you hit, which one is it? I think you get to Robinson Flat after that, which is about 32 miles or something like that.
Right.
But I was going to meet Charlotte there, but the sort of GPS sat nav in the car took her off on a different road or something, so I didn't end up meeting her there, which wasn't the end of the world, because it's like I was saying, like you could run the race without a crew, because the aid stations are massive and they've got everything you need. And like when I went through the aid station, I was sort of looking around for Charlotte, the one person crew. It's like, where is she? And I was looking around, and then I sort of realised, maybe she's not here. And then kind of when people saw me sort of like looking around for her, they were like, oh man. They're like, has your crew not made it? And then people were running over, and they were like, oh look, I've got these bars. They were like, do you want any food? They were like, do you want any electrolytes? Do you want any gels or anything like this? Like everyone was just like really nice around the race. I guess because like I guess probably a lot of the people's crews are probably runners themselves, and they've probably realised like, right, well, this guy here is on his own. he probably wants a bit of something. But I was like, I just grabbed a couple of bars off this lady. She was really nice, and then sort of off we popped. But it just progressively just got hotter and hotter and hotter. And there's like, you start off. When do you go down into the canyons? I think it's about sort of like 35 miles, 40 miles. You start doing the sort of middle section, which is like the canyons section, where you're just going down, up, down, up, down, up through these canyons, and that's where you've got the really steep climbs coming out of them. But it was just when it was getting like really hot in the day, and like at the bottom of the canyons, it was hitting sort of, I think it was over 100 Fahrenheit, so about high 30s, 40 degrees maybe.
That's hot.
And it was just, it got a bit unbearable, to be honest.
Yeah, high 20s starts getting a bit unbearable for me.
Well, like, it's really dry heat though. It's like over here it's just sticky and sweaty, but it's like,
well, I guess if it's really dry like that, your sweat's going to evaporate pretty quick.
Yeah.
So you probably don't notice as much how much fluid you're losing.
Yeah, you'd like, at the aid station, people have buckets of cold water with sponges, and at every opportunity, everyone would say there's one piece of advice to the race: just keep dousing yourself in water. But like, you'd douse yourself in water, and then you'd go off out of the aid station, and you'd be dry in 10 minutes because you just like completely dried off. I started I had two sort of soft flasks, and I had one with stuff I was drinking with some had some Tailwind in, which has got your electrolytes and all that sort of stuff, and the other one was just full of ice water, and I was just using that, just pouring it on my head because it was the only thing keeping me cool. But especially on the climbs, it was just absolutely crippling. I was like, I just had to. I was conscious of like sort of my heart rate, sort of, and not getting that too high, because then
ultimately it runs away if your heart rate gets too high where you can't sweat enough to cool your core temperature down, then it'll go higher, trying harder, and you end up in a spiral. That's when it starts to get really dangerous. So I kind of thought, like, they'd said at the start, it's like, if you're not used to the heat, you're just gonna have to manage the heat, and that's what I just started doing. I just had to, it's like on these big steep climbs, I could feel my chest beating and my heart rate going up really high, and I was just stopping in the shade at the side. I was just like, right, just give myself a couple of minutes, chuck some water on my head. I was like, try and eat something. I was struggling to eat, but
just try and eat something, and then kind of get going again. Just keep pushing along. But yeah, it was just a case of managing it best you could, really. It's all, I guess. It's always a bit demoralising when you've got lots of people coming past you on a race, but
yeah, I know
I just kind of thought, don't worry about it. It's like you're not here to race anyone. You're here to enjoy the race as much as you can.
Yeah.
Just take your time and just get it done, because that middle section was hard.
Yeah, I mean that's the big lesson that I've been learning about. Certainly about racing ultras, but I guess it depends what level you're running at. It applies to all races, really. Is that when it comes to things like you say, like the heat, where you're pacing yourself to manage the heat, you've got to not get caught up in somebody passing you. So you've got to do your thing, because their thing might be that actually they've never run that distance before and they're going to crash after 70 miles. You just don't know. So I'm just finding if you get really focused on the best for yourself, you'll do the best race you can. And so, where you place just depends on who else is running and how they do.
Exactly.
The last 3 races I've done, I've had strong finishes. On Sunday, that very last climb coming up, again, I knew once you finish that climb, there's a couple of miles to go on really runnable ground. So there's no point getting to the top of the climb and standing still for 10 minutes gasping for air. So I just paced myself on the climb, and it was pretty slow. 3 people passed me on the climb. By the time we hit the finish line, I was 1 to 2 minutes ahead of them all.
Oh, well, yeah.
So, I got to the top of the climb and I was ready to run. They got to the top of the climb and they weren't ready to run. So, and that was just over 2 miles. I was minutes ahead of them, which I was surprised I was that far ahead. I knew I could have them, but...
that's good, yeah.
So, I took back the 3 places on the...
It's a nasty little climb.
It's a nasty little climb. Yeah.
I have... So
you didn't think of trimming your beard down to cool off, or
I had a haircut. I'm too attached to my beard to shave it off. I was just chucking water on myself, like any stream or sort of like little spring I found or anything. It was just like stick my head in, or just like get a load of water and just chuck it all over me, or like everyone was doing the same. I think there's one big bouncy bridge at the bottom of one of the canyon. That was when you're kind of a bit like uncoherent as well. When you run on a bridge and the bridge is bouncing, I didn't quite know what was going on. But anyway, I got across it. But before that bridge, you could like get down to the river, and I just went straight down and just jumped in the river, and there was a guy standing there, and he was like, "Hey, that's a great idea." I was just like, it's cost me a few minutes, but what's a few minutes in a race that's going to take a day to to run? So that seemed to help a bit. But I did think. I was running with one girl for a while. I can't remember who she was. She must have been sort of top 10 ladies, but she was I said, we were chatting, I was just saying, I've been struggling for the last sort of like, must have been sort of good like couple hours, 3-4 hours even. And she was like, just think of it this way. She was like, all the energy you're saving now, you'll be able to run at the end. And I kind of thought, to be honest, that's not a bad idea. I was like, right, when that sun goes down, I'm gonna give it a crack and get going again. But I'd struggled to eat in the heat.
Yes.
Just 'cause my stomach was just not processing anything, and the thought of eating anything solid was just like, no, I couldn't. Even like Cliff Bars or flapjack or anything like that. Just the thought of trying to eat something like that was just awful. So really, the only thing I was eating all day was the little Cliff blocks, the squidgy gel block things. they were all I could sort of like manage. So like when it did get a bit cooler, like I got running again, but I'd feel good for a couple of miles, not get running, but then I'd just sort of crash and I'd have to walk for a bit until I sort of like my energy picked up again, and then I'd get going again for another couple of miles. But sort of, well, I think I swapped my shoes about 55, 60 miles into some like nice road shoes, because you didn't really need the sort of traily grip out there because it's all these like dry, dusty trails.
Yeah.
I changed my socks as well. I've never done that in a race before, but like when you change out of like some soppy, wet, dirty socks and put on some fresh ones, it feels absolutely amazing. So like after sort of like 55 miles, and there's another big checkpoint at 62 miles at Forest Hill, and I felt good then. I was running. I think I even clocked out sort of like a 7:38 minute mile or something like that, and I was like, oh look, check me out, I'm eating up the miles now. But I felt good then, and I was even starting to pass a few people.
Yeah.
Because I think, as you were saying before, it's like you run your own race, and they all must have been working hard in the sections before, and maybe struggling a bit now. So yeah, I was running quite well then. A lot of people, it's a big thing in the US, but not over here. But a lot of people use pace runners.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that.
A lot of races in the US.
I mean, on things like the Bob Graham, people use paces.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's not really common. And again, in Europe, a lot of people use sticks. And they're not very common over here. Which, I guess, another question. I guess you weren't using sticks.
No. Well, I probably like. I guess it's like a stubborn English thing where it's like I don't need sticks. I can get up this hill on my own. But then when you're like going around the Alps or something, or doing like going around Mont Blanc, it's like, yeah, it'd probably be a bit beneficial.
Yeah, I was having a bit of practice running with sticks while I was out there recently. On the alpine trails. There
must be a technique to it, because you're sort of like, it's like skiing sort of up a hill. You can like
I mean, I've been able to walk fast with sticks for kind of years of practice, and like in the spine race that works well because you're carrying so much kit. It's not a particularly runnable race unless you're elite, basically. So the sticks work really well. But what I've been trying to learn a bit, because what I ended up doing then was, if I was doing the fast walking, I'd use the sticks, and if I was running, I'd just hold the sticks in my hand. I bought some very light sticks, so you can't just hold them. But that's actually a waste of energy. So I've been trying to learn to run, not fast run, an ultra pace run with the sticks, and it seems to be starting to come together. I just need more practice.
I guess there's a bit of a technique to it.
Yeah, there must
be on YouTube somewhere. This
is
how you run with sticks.
Well, there's a very good video that Wayne shared recently about why you should use your sticks, and why the why the F would you carry them and not use them, and things like that.
Yeah, definitely.
So as you say, it's a very English thing to not use sticks.
Yeah.
I was wondering how it would go down to take sticks along to a fell race.
Yeah,
you'd be hounded, wouldn't you?
Yeah, they'd probably take you off the course and be like, no, you can't have.
I've not actually seen anything in any rules that says that you can't.
No, I think you'd be all right. It's just you probably just get people just take the piss out of you at the end or something. What are you doing? You don't need them to run up a hill.
Yeah, you don't need them, but
I guess they just take the weight off your legs a bit, I guess, and sort of like just if you're going to be out there all day, then anything that makes life a bit easier, makes you a bit more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, what I found so far is, especially when you get on really steep ascents, which is kind of funny because in the Alps, although they're huge mountains, they tend to have zigzag tracks, so the ascents aren't quite as steep as what you get on fell races. But when you're on really steep ascents, there's a point where you're almost using your hands. Well, if you've got sticks, you can get that bit of extra grip with your hands all the time.
Yeah.
There's that extra little bit of pull forward at the point where your feet are starting to slip because of the steepness. And so it's that, I think, for me, is one of the biggest advantages of them. It's just, you just get that. It's like an extra 30% grip or something by just having something else to prod down.
Rather than like sort of hands on your knees, sort of like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because
you're still only gripping with your feet at that point. So yeah, I'm experimenting and trying to get better with them, but I've got a long way to go.
I'll see. Maybe one day I'll try it. Well, it depends. Depends if I sign up for anything silly.
Yeah,
never say never.
I mean, after all your heat practice, surely something like Marathon des Sables next.
Yeah, to be you see, there is a lot of like really great sort of like multi-day races out there, but I kind of think like I'd rather just get it all done in one go. You know, like 100 miles or whatever. Just get it done. The thought of like going to bed and then waking up the next day in bits and like trying to get going again.
Well, I did the Lakeland 3-day event in May. So that was, I was doing the Wainwright level, not the expert level. So we were doing sort of 22 miles a day, that kind of distance. So it wasn't, you weren't in bits, but you definitely weren't fresh. But that was partly to get my first taste of multi-day running as well, where I thought it was actually quite a nice kind of distance to try it out at. You know, how recovered do you feel after sleeping in your tent for a night? And
that's it. You're in a tent with a sleeping bag. You're not in a big, comfy, memory foam mattress or something like that.
Yeah, I quite liked it. I quite thinking of the idea of trying some more multi-day stuff.
You get a lot of like the more sort of like adventure sort of races, I guess, where it's like you're out and about for like a few days and you sort of you can only rely on your own kit and things like that. So I don't know, we'll see. Maybe. I guess. Well, I've done like big back to day days and training, but that's with like going home and getting a shower and making a big dinner and like
putting a fresh pair of shoes on the next morning and
I don't know.
So I guess back to the race. What I
think I was about. I was getting running. I was about 60. So like 62 miles, something like that. There was that big checkpoint, and I was running along there. And to be fair, most of it is runnable. It's known as a good runnable race. There's the odd section where it's like, you've got rocky technical bit that you sort of need to clamber over, or there's like some climbs are too steep to run up, even if you're sort of fresh legged really. So you sort of hike up them, but most of it is like nice smooth trail that you can kind of run along. So I was doing all right really. I was running along and I felt okay. I was just keeping away on my cliff blocks, just ticking off the miles really, and the sun was starting to get cooler then, well, like relatively cooler. Like it was still, I think I remember when I was coming near the end of the race at like 2 a.m, I was still chucking water on my head trying to keep myself cool. But yeah, I was running all right. I think, when was the next time? I had a bit of an interesting issue with my head torch, which was, so it started getting dark about 9:30, something like that. And kind of because a lot of the trail's covered, obviously it was dark under the canopy. So I was like, all right, well I best get my head torch out now. And it was a head torch that I'd had in my bag since the start of the race, which was kind of good I had it in there, because I missed Charlotte at a couple of checkpoints and I couldn't grab the head torch off her, so I had had this really crappy little head torch in my bag, but it'd been in my bag all day, so when I got it out to use it, it kind of like worked for about 5 minutes, and then it was just like flickering and just going really dim and then just turning off. And I don't know if it like got wet or something. The batteries were dying.
Yeah,
or
sounds
something
like it might have been switched on most of the day.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. but yeah, I was like, we run along this section next to the river. So it was kind of like sandy, and like there's odd little bits of technical bits, but you had to kind of watch out for these rocks. I was sort of stumbling over these rocks with this really dim light on this head torch, and I ended up having to take it off my head, and I had it pointed at the ground, just trying to look for any hazards on the ground. And when you're trying to run and do that, it got a bit frustrating, to be honest. But I think I was only doing that for about, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or something. And then a couple of guys caught me up. I had these like big, massive like head torches, and like they were really nice. I think there were a couple of Canadian guys, and they were like, oh man, I was like, we could see your dust. We could see some dust going off the trail, but we couldn't see a light. So we were like, what's going on up ahead? But they were really nice, and they were like, oh man, just come with us, just use our lights, just stick with us, and once you get to the next aid station, you can meet your crew and sort yourself out and all that. So I just like hung on with these guys, and they were really nice, and it was actually good to kind of run with someone, because like I didn't have a pace or anything. I wasn't bothered about any of that business, but I was when it's a field of 300 people over 100 miles, so it gets very spread out, so you run on your own for a lot of time, and there's only so much you can take sort of with your own head. So it was nice to run with these guys and have a chat, and the time just goes a bit quicker, and you just eat up ground when you're running with people. Like, it's easy when you're on your own to kind of like, you can push yourself, but when you're on your own, you kind of think, right, okay, I'll just take a minute, get myself back together and go again. But if you're with some people, you just kind of all just push each other along, so you just keep on going. And then we got to the Rookie Truckee River crossing, and then there I met Charlotte, and thankfully she had this big powerful head torch that I had, which was my planned head torch to use, and thankfully that was still all powered up and everything, so yeah, I grabbed that off her, and that was a bit of a relief, because I don't really know what I would have done with that head torch for the last like 30 miles of the race. I guess I would just had to just pinch one off someone and be like, okay, just come and meet me at the end, and I'll give it back to you. But got that off her, and then you cross the river, and sometimes they have little dinghies across the river, but because it was such a low water year or whatever, they just had a rope across. So you went across the river, and then you saw up this big, it's like it's about 3 miles straight up to the next checkpoint. But I was just a bit beaten up by then, so I just kind of hiked up that bit. I was like, I've got a long way to go still. Like, I'm not going to beat myself up. It's like, I just keep going. Like, they had at each of the aid stations, which was really, really useful, was they had big signs with cut-off times and like different paces. So like, if you want to run 20 hours, they're like, right, leave the sort of, you should be hitting this checkpoint at this time, 24 hours at this time. I kept looking, I was still well under 24-hour pace. So I was like, right, okay, even if I end up running slower than I wanted to, I still should be able to kind of get it under 24 hours, which was sort of, wasn't my first goal, but sort of my second goal for the race. I did want to aim for about 20 hours, but I realised after about sort of 30 miles that was just not going to happen, because it just got hotter, and it just sort of slipped. But I was like, right, 24 hours, that'd be good. So yeah, it got dark, and I had my head torch and everything, so I was all right. And I was running away. I didn't feel too bad. And then where was it? There was one aid station where it had been like some really rocky sort of technical terrain to get to this aid station. And there was a guy, like, I got some soup and stuff that they had on there. And there was a guy there, and he said to me, he was like, next 5 miles, next 6 miles to the next aid station, he was like, it's really nice. It was like really nice runnable terrain. And I remember leaving that aid station, and it was about 3/4 of a mile of this like really nice trail through these like fields. And it just got really rocky and horrible again, and I was just like, what a bastard. It was just like, I was like, I couldn't believe it. Yeah, sort of maybe kind of 20 miles, 15 miles out, I was like doing the maths in my head, like, right, I've got this far to go. What's the slowest I can run and still make it? And just in my head, it was just getting closer and closer and closer to being like 24 hours. Yeah, I was just struggling a bit, really. And I remember one aid station, must have been about 12 miles from the finish or something. But just sort of like, all day I'd been sort of like enjoying it. And like, if I hit an aid station, like all the people were really nice. So I'd have a chat with them and like have a bit of a laugh with them and stuff. I just remember just being absolutely zonked, and like came into the aid station and everyone was like, "Well, yeah, well done, you're doing really well." And I was just like, I just need some water. And I was like, can you just fill my bottles up? And I just sort of didn't really know what was going on. So I was just like, I just fill my water up and just get out of there and just keep on moving. So, but I just sort of like stumbled out of there, and they were like, "Are you okay? You okay?" And I was just like, yeah, and it's like, right, off we go.
Yeah, a question that just occurred to me actually, having run through a couple of nights on races. These aid stations, are they like an oasis of light and noise?
Oh yeah,
when you reach them. Because it must be pretty dark out on the trails.
Yeah, it's like, it's pitch black, and then you can sort of use. Most of them had like music playing, so you can sort of hear them in the distance, and you're like, oh, they can't be far now, and you'll turn around a corner, and then they were all lit up, and they had like fairy lights everywhere on the aid stations and stuff, so it was really good. And like, yeah, you'd see them, and then that's it. You'd be like, right, okay, I've made it to this one. Just have a chill for a few minutes, refuel, get yourself together, and then head out to the next one. But yeah, it was nice to see it, especially in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
it's like kudos to all those volunteers who are literally sat there through the night helping all these runners.
Yeah, like, it sounds like an
like,
amazing volunteer scene.
It's crazy there. And like, it wasn't just your usual like flapjacks and a bit of cake. It was like people were like cooking up proper meals, and like they were like, oh, if you want a cheese toasty or something, I can go and whip that up for you. And they had like soup and all sorts. Yeah, it was crazy.
We'll have to have a chat with our local race director, won't we? Get some of this
couple of bits of
out.
Orange and flapjack, just don't cut it anymore. Oh no, that was like one of the best bits of the race. Was like, just like, I guess it's like an American thing that they're all really like enthusiastic and quite sort of like, but yeah, everyone was like, just got behind you, and you came into an aid station and like everyone would just cheer you on and just got behind you, and just they'd help you out with anything you needed. And like every aid station, I don't know if they'd been told or if they'd done it before, but they'd all be really knowledgeable about the sort of next section, apart from that one guy, about the next section of the route. So they'd be like, right, okay, you've got half a mile through here, and then you'll drop down, and then you've got to climb. So you sort of had it in your head what was coming up, because I'd not done the route before, I'd not been out there, I had no idea what it was like. So that was really good. You could just ask him, and they'd be like, right. Or if you're like, well, how far is the next aid station? They'd be like, right, okay, it's 3.6 miles. Like, look at your watch. It'd be bang on 3.6 miles to the next aid station. So that was a really good part of the race. But yeah, I was doing all right towards the end. I think once you get sort of 10 miles from the finish, you just think, right, come on, let's just get rolling now. Yeah. Let's just get this done.
It's a normal kind of evenings run or something, isn't it?
It's just
morning, lunchtime, evening, you can bang out 10 miles, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was running, and I was like, oh, I feel all right here. It's like I'm running. And I remember looking at my watch, and I was running like 14-minute mile in or something. And I was like, oh, if like people could see me going, and I was like, yeah. And I was like, but that's all I needed to do at that point.
Yeah.
I'd kind of worked it out. When I was getting closer, maybe like 10k away, I was like, right, even if I do sort of 20 minute miles or something. It's like that's going to get me there under 24 hours, which is, it's a walking pace really. So when I was clocking out sort of 13, 14 minute miles, I was like, right, we'll keep this going for as far as we can, and sort of, yeah, just kept going. I think a couple of people came past me. I remember there was one guy who came past me, and I sort of just tagged along from him for a bit, and we were sort of leapfrogging a bit. Like I'd go past him when I was running okay, and then he was knackered, and then when I was knackered, he'd sort of catch me up and come past me, and like we were sort of doing that for a few miles. But he seemed like a nice guy. Every time I went past, it was like, oh, hello, well done, yeah, you're right, yeah, okay, yeah, right, fine, carry on. But what's the last few miles so you've got No Hands Bridge, which is at about 97 miles or something like that, I think. When you hit there, you go across this big bridge, and then we were like, how far is left, basically, and the guy was like, right, it's 2 miles up, and then you've got 1 mile drops down into the town, and then you're done then. So there's actually like quite a few of us sort of, I guess, hitting under 24 hours is what most people aim for. So like coming to that point of the race, there was actually quite a few runners around after running on your own for so long. So on these last few miles, there was like a few of us who were like going past each other, sort of that kind of thing. But I guess when you're near the end of the race, you just kind of get a bit of a, I don't know if it's adrenaline or whatever, but like no matter how bad my legs were, I was like, right, I'll run now. So I was like, I managed to run up the whole 2 miles up this climb. Like it wasn't steep, it was all runnable, but at that point, running up a hill is like,
it's tough.
but I was just plodding along. I was like, right, just keep going, run up. And then once you get to the top of that, there's even another aid station at the top of that. They just keep banging all these aid stations out. And that's only like 1.5 miles from the finish. And I just kind of thought, well, I'm not stopping now. It's like, I've got a bit of water on me. It's like, I'm not far away. So I just kept on going, and you come sort of through Auburn, and then it's up and down a bit, but you're all on tarmac then, so it don't make too much difference. Then you sort of cross this bridge, and then you go. It's into I think it's like a high school sort of track.
Okay.
Like on this big field. You sort of come around there, and then you sort of go around the track, and then that's it. You cross the line, and then done. But even at that point, when I hit the track, I was like, I'm gonna stick to the inside lane on the track. So I was like, I don't want to run like any more yards than necessary. So I was like, right, I'll just hug the inside of the track and run around. And I finished, and it was just like, yeah, it was a good feeling to finish and sort of be done really. But like at that, it was about. So it was like 4 a.m. It was just over 23 hours 20 or something, I think I finished in. But it's like it's a bit of like an anticlimax, because you sort of see online all this big fanfare of like the people finishing, but it's 4 a.m. Anyone who's there is like exhausted, asleep on the grass, and there's just like a couple of guys at the finish like, well done, here you go. It's like, take a photo. Okay.
I remember that situation very well.
When I crossed the line, there was a guy called Charles. I can't remember his last name, but he's on the board at Western States. He's done the race 20 times before, but I remember chatting to him the day before, and he was there when I crossed the line. He was sort of giving out the medals and things. And I just, he remembered me. He was like, oh, well done, Clark, and all this, and I had a good chat with him at the end. So that was really nice, really, that people sort of pay attention to you and kind of remember. So yeah, that was it was good. And Charlotte was there at the finish, and we just sort of had a bit of a chill then. And yeah, that was us done.
Awesome. Awesome result. I mean, I know it's a very different kind of race, but when I did the Spine Challenger, it took 46 hours compared to your under 24. Man. I mean,
yeah.
You know, for I do have the ambition of one day doing 100 miles under 24 hours, but I think I'd have to be doing it on a very runnable race to make that. I mean, it's
it's like anywhere you run 100 miles, you're gonna have some climb and things like Western's known as one of the most runnable 100 milers in the world.
I mean,
and it's
you look at the profile on it. There's a lot more downhill than there is uphill.
Yeah, I think I fixed it on my Strava actually, but it had just short. Well, it clocked on the watch. It was just short of 19,000 foot of climb, which like even though it's sort of you have a few steeps, but it's all sort of ups and downs. But yeah, you go down. It's about 22,000 foot of down in the race as well, so it's all gradually sort of downhill. But yeah, that's known as a runnable course, and I was kind of like, who are they kidding? Like, it's still tough.
Yeah, well, that earned you a silver buckle, I believe.
It did, yeah. Which was it was gold to get that. There's a few people at like the aid stations when you're running out, and they sort of knew you're under 24-hour pace. They're like, yeah, go get that silver, man. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, you get a silver buckle for under 24 hours, and the race cut-off is 30 hours. So if you finish under 30 hours, you get a bronze buckle.
Yeah.
And it's got your name in the back of it and all that sort of business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. They do like they do like a present, sort of like an awards ceremony basically next to the finish line, and sort of it's similar with like West Island Way. It's like everyone comes up, everyone gets the name read out and how fast, what time you did, and everyone gets a round of applause and gets presented with the buckle and stuff. So that was really cool. But it was so hot. It was like we're in Auburn. It's like by about 8 o'clock in the morning, it was pushing 30 degrees. It was silly hot. And we slept in the car that night because it was like so we finished. It was like 4 in the morning. Had a bit of a chill out at the end. Had something to eat and stuff. Then eventually we were like, right, well, I may as well get a few hours sleep. But like, we didn't bring a sleeping bags. We didn't book a hotel or anything like that. So like, sod it. We're just gonna have to put the seats back in the car and have a sleep in the car. But like, it turned into like a conservatory. So like, by 7 o'clock in the morning, we were just like, I can't sleep in here anymore. But like, you're so pumped up from the race. I was all right sort of the next day. Yeah, it was good just seeing. Well, everyone there is part of the race, so you could literally just sit on the grass and just talk to anyone and have a chat or have a beer or a coffee or whatever. So yeah, it was great. Really good atmosphere at the finish.
Yeah. Met
a few people. Sort of met a few good runners from the race. I think I met Ian Sharman, who's done it. What has he done? I think it's 9 times in a row he's been in the top 10. Wow. Western States. Sort of saw Jim Walmsley, who set the course record that year. Just said, well done, you had a good run. But he was just a bit like, oh yeah, just one of those days, everything went well. He seemed kind of down to earth, really. He was a nice guy. So it was cool just to be around sort of all these sort of top runners. It's like, oh yeah, I recognise you. So it was cool. And then we just sort of chilled in Auburn for a while afterwards. It was the woman we had an Airbnb with a woman in Auburn who was like a really nice place, like literally like a cabin just in the middle of nowhere, which is just perfect for just chilling out. But she was following me on the race because like the race is such a big deal in this tiny little town, she was like, "Oh yeah, I love Western City." She was like, "Couldn't believe you, like you're so lucky to get in." And then she was like, "We were following you along with the race and everything." And then when we met her, she was really nice, and she let us sort of check in early as well because we were just hanging about.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty cool. Everyone seems to just get involved with the race around there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So after that great result, what's next?
Don't know.
Chilling out for a while, enjoying the running.
Well, I'll probably stick to doing some races a bit more close to home because it's very expensive going to the other side of the world to run an ultra race. So we'll see.
You probably don't want to have a look at Marathon des Sables yet then.
No.
Apparently that's also very expensive.
I might do, well, maybe it's coming into sort of marathon season, so might have a crack at the trail marathon, Whitworth one.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a month, 6 weeks away, something like
Yeah.
that. Might have a crack at that.
It's less than that.
Is it? It's in August, isn't it? Start of August?
Yeah, middle of August. It's
I don't know,
1, 2.
I'll check.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks and 2 days away.
All right, okay, a bit closer than I thought. I'll have a crack at that.
Yeah.
And then
So that's a new event. So not likely to have a strong field. So you going for the win in that?
well, we'll see. It's taken me longer than I thought for my legs to come back around from Western. Like, I don't feel like I didn't pick up any injuries and niggles or anything. I was kind of lucky that sort of I a bit stiff and sore after the race, but I felt okay. Well, you probably know well that like you're just fatigued. Like every run I do now, I feel okay for kind of 4 or 5 miles maybe, and then I'm just like tired. And I'm guessing I'm just still a bit tired from the race, but I'll try and get some miles in again and start building it up and have a go at that. And I like to do when it comes up to road marathon season, I like to have a good go at a road marathon as well, just to kind of, it's a different challenge. It's all about your pace and your speed and your time and things, but I like to have a crack at a road marathon as well. And then God knows what. Just see what comes up.
Yeah, see what inspires you.
Yeah. Well,
Dragon's Back's on next year.
That looks a great race.
It does look a great race. I just don't think I'm ready for it next year.
Yeah, looks a hard one. Well, we're I need to start saving for a wedding, so I can't do anything too silly too soon before that.
Yeah.
But I seen a race. Well, it was only because Hard Rock 100 was on last weekend, and I was sort of following that. I was just looking at the qualifying races for that, and there's a one in Canada near where my dad lives called, I think it's called Fat Dog 120.
Right.
So it's 120 miler, but it's all through these like big national parks and all these mountains and stuff, and it looks a really good race.
Yeah, definitely sounds interesting.
So maybe not next year, but maybe a couple of years' time, I'll look at doing something like that and make it into another sort of trip where I can go off to Canada and do the race and do a bit of exploring afterwards.
Sounds good.
Just nothing silly for a while.
Yeah.
I think I did 96 mile last year, so and then another sort of 100 this year. I don't know how people sort of do if you do more than 100, like one a year or any bigger than a year, which is crazy.
I don't yet really. I did my first 100 this year. I'm going to do one early next year, but I'm hoping by then, sort of next year, I might be able to do 2 or 3 100 milers. But then I've got a crazy idea about potentially going longer. So, See, I'm not fast enough to be competitive at shorter distances. So, but I'm stubborn enough to keep going at longer distances.
That's the main thing about running ultras, is being bloody stubborn.
Yeah, so I've got the stubbornness. I just don't have any sort of real talent to really compete at shorter distances. So I can handle the complexity of races like the Spine, where the kit list's massive and looking after yourself's really important. I like that kind of challenge. It makes it harder. It reduces the field. Because if it's just a straight running race, I'm not going to win. So, not that I'm going to win anything else either, but at least I feel more like I'm competing in a certain style of race. So, but yeah, it's.
What's next on your cards for yourself?
I've got the Hardmoor 60 coming up in a couple of months.
When is that?
Mid-September.
Cool.
So,
they do all sorts of distances, don't they?
Yes. Yeah.
That should be good fun.
Yeah. Should be really good, because similar to I did the Oldham Way Ultra a few months ago, and I'd lived in the area, I'd worked in the area, and I'd been in this park and that park and on that bit of canal. But when you string it all together and you see all the bits linked, it's really good fun actually, and that's what I'm expecting with like the Hardmoor 60. You end up running through Whitby and places, places I've been to lots of times. And just to string them all together. Also, personally, I like the idea of a race where you're going from one place to another. It's not a loop. It's not an out and back.
All right, yeah.
It's not quite a straight line, but you're basically running down the coast.
And
I really like that idea.
That's cool.
I say ending up somewhere different. Well,
both the long races I've done have been point to points, and the scenery changes.
Yeah, exactly. it just gets everything's just different.
You feel like you're moving forward somewhere.
Yes,
you're heading towards the finish.
Yeah. So I'm kind of looking out for that kind of race. Just because it goes almost right past my house, I'll be doing the White Rose Ultra as well.
What distance are you going to do?
Well, I did the 30 last year, so I've got to do the 60 this year.
Yeah.
But that's going to be tough, doing a second loop of the 30.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
I think you need to do that as well. It's local. We've got to support these local races.
I know. Yeah, I know. We'll see. Yeah. Well, I might have a crack at it. It's, as you say, it's on your doorstep, and we'll see. Maybe see what my legs are like, and I might have a go at White Rose this year. Don't know what distance. I think it's a bit of a strange one, because 30 miles feels like, right, okay, I can probably run 30 miles pretty hard for that amount of time.
Exactly, yes.
So that feels like it's going to be like a hard effort to run that. And then 60 is a bit of a weird distance, and then it's just like, well, for a 10 or more on the entry or whatever it is, it's like I could do 100. So
you should do the 100.
We'll see. I suppose if it's a loop one and it's local,
but at least it's a big loop though. It's not like you're doing 10-mile loops or 10k loops or something. It's a nice big loop, and it's quite a nice route actually. I mean, like I said, I did the 30 last year. That was my first ultra. And I was surprised how much of it is on track rather than on trail rather than on road. There are a couple of roads. There's the bits I didn't like on the road. There's 2 steep downhills on tarmac, which I find puts quite a lot of impact into your legs.
There's one. I've done bits of the course before. Dropping down to sort of Marsden.
Well, there's the one that drops down into
that's horrible.
And that one being at the end, that was horrible. But the one that actually caused me the issues that had then developed worse by then is as you drop down into Slowett.
That one,
it's less than halfway through the race, and I went.
You can't go slow on it either, because it's like your legs are just going.
But this is what I've been trying to learn, better technique of basically of taking smaller steps so you reduce the impact of each step, and trying to land your foot better. Well, try not to heel strike basically. Because I did big steps and heel strikes. I'd hurt a lot.
Well, I think that's,
later.
you kind of see that with the sort of with the fell runners, don't you? Like if they go down a steep hill,
Yeah.
that it's not big bounding strides. It's
Yes.
like that, straight down.
Yeah, that's why I've been trying to do a few fell races. To be honest, I love being out in the fells, but I like to do a long run on the trails in the fells. I absolutely love it. I mean, the routes around here are fabulous. Fell racing itself, I find it really hard running that fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, I find them really hard work, but what I find is that by doing something like that, we did the Home Moss Fell race on Sunday, that is far more sort of technical and harder than the terrain I'm going to be on in the big races that I'm actually really pushing for. So it's a really good experience to push yourself through that. I mean, there was a few times in it I was thinking, why am I doing this? I could be on a nice pleasant, run across the top of the hills rather than all this steep up and down. And then I thought, well, actually I need it, because when you're just training and you're doing it yourself, you don't always push yourself that hard.
Exactly.
What I sometimes do is run out somewhere, so I have to run back. That's one way of pushing yourself hard, because when it's a long way. But yeah, on that kind of fell race, I really get pushed well out of my comfort zone, and that's good.
That's when that's what training is. Is like, fair enough, you can do as many easy miles as you want to get your sort of fitness up, but until you start pushing yourself, you're not gonna improve really. Like, you need to go out your comfort zone now and then and work hard. That's the only way you're going to get stronger. And like as you say, on that race, there's all these horrible steep climbs and your ankles are twisting around everywhere and everything, but sure, you might be a bit stiff and sore the next day, but all that's going to do is just make you stronger in the long run. So if you hit a climb that isn't as steep, you're just going to be like straight up that, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. But it definitely works, because I took 40 minutes off my time from last year, so over the year I've got a lot stronger, and I went out running the next day. So it's that's a big difference. It's progress. So that's what it's all about, isn't it? Just got to keep making progress. Do what you enjoy.
It's all about sort of like persistence and consistency, I guess, really.
Yes.
And then just like you'll slowly get better, and it doesn't matter if you have a bad race or something now and then. It's just we're not competing at the Olympics. It's like it's like you'll be all right the next day, and you can get on. And
I mean, I'm lucky because I'm still on such a kind of steep trajectory of improving that even if I have a bad race, it's still way better than I'd have done 6 months ago. And it's just fun times, isn't it?
It's good just getting out there, and like, especially with your sort of fell running or your trail races and stuff like that, you're probably getting out in bits of the country that you wouldn't have seen before. Like I know yourself, you've got to do outdoor stuff, but kind of like for a lot of people, it's you're in these parts of the country that you wouldn't see normally, and you're sort of exploring it and finding these new things.
It's fantastic. I went on a trail run from my house, only about 10k. So I'm not going far, and this was from my door. I didn't drive anywhere, and just because I recently started running with Staying in Lions Club, which is not far from me. Actually, not far from you either. But it's kind of in the opposite direction to where I normally run, because I don't really know the trails over there. And I ran with a few of the guys and thought, okay, there's some trails here, I can piece these together. And just last week on a lunchtime, managed to extend my lunchtime to get a 10k run in. And if I run up this trail, came out, I thought I could hear like an animal in the bush kind of thing, and just sort of slowed down as I got there, put my head round. 2 juvenile what's the common bird of prey? It's just jumped out of my head.
Osprey? No?
I was about to say osprey. They're not ospreys. There's another one. But anyway, these 2 juvenile birds of prey on the ground, which is a very rare thing to see. And they're sitting there, but by this size, the big buzzards. That's what they are.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
the 2 juvenile buzzards just there, and it's things like that. You just, when you have that kind of moment of seeing things like that, you just think it's
Well,
just getting out into these places, and like I say, this is just outside of Outlane, basically.
yeah. Well, it's
It's
like,
nowhere really wild, but
well,
see
yeah.
fantastic
Like,
things.
there's some woods literally round the corner from me. It's maybe I run sort of like half a mile, and I'm in these woods, and it's like I've seen deer in there, and it's like
Yes.
it's like I'm next to a train track. The M62's over there, and it's like here's these deer bouncing around. And it's just like,
Yeah.
you never know what you're gonna find.
Yeah, like you say, it's just so good getting out on the trails and learning the area, and
Summertime's the best time for it as well.
it's equally good in winter. This winter we had 8-foot high snowdrifts on some of the trails.
Yeah.
Either running through them when the snow was really soft, or climbing over them once it had gone hard. It's great fun.
Well, which race of Wayne's was cancelled when?
That was the Oldham Way Ultra. I did it after it had been
yeah.
rescheduled. Yes.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures of that. That's
Yeah.
good fun. Run on the snow is good fun, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's all good. So it's probably a good place to wrap it up. We're talking about how to get out and have fun.
Yeah,
So
cool.
so thanks very much for coming along and sharing
problem.
your story.
It's all good.
It's been really good, and I'm sure we'll have you back on after you've done another big adventure.
Yeah, after another silly race, I'll come back. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Right. Well,
Right. Cheers, Kevin.
thanks, Clark.